Hi there guys, I'm Nikhil from Greedy Tech and this is the complete review of the Infinix Note 5 after a month. Now this Infinix Note 5 is a successor to the last year's Infinix Note 4 and that was the first phone launched by Infinix in the Indian market. For some reason they directly jumped to the Note 4 instead of 123. Anyway, this Note 5 is definitely a successor to the Note 4 and it brings the best things from the Note 4 like fast charging, dedicated SD card slot and lot more cool stuff. Now with that said, I've already posted the unboxing video for this phone, so check that out for initial impressions and physical overview. Now with that said, for a quick recap, this phone is sold exclusively online on Flipkart in two variants. Base variant is priced at 10,000 rupees for 3GB of RAM and 32GB of storage. Next variant is priced at 12,000 rupees for 4GB of RAM and 64GB of storage. But when it comes to value for money, base variant is more than sufficient. Now this phone is available in two colors, black and icy blue. I have the icy blue and that's the color I would suggest if anyone is interested to buy this phone. Now I'll start the review with the design and build. On the back, this phone has a fiberglass with 10-layer coating of reflective nanochrome particles, which gives it a glossy mirror-like finish, and it does look quite premium. Despite having a huge form factor, because of the tapered edges with curved sides, phone fits pretty comfortably in the hand. I was actually able to take long calls on this phone. Now because of this glass build, it's obviously going to be a fingerprint magnet and it will attract a lot of smudges, but the free case that we get inside the box does help a little with smudges and a bit of grip. Now coming to these buttons, I'm not sure if they are made of metal or plastic, but they are sufficiently elevated and have a nice clicky feel to them. Now coming back to the entire phone, this phone weighs about 180 grams and on paper it definitely sounds heavy. But in terms of weight distribution, it's definitely better than Redmi Note 5 or the Note 5 Pro, which have similar weight. So guys, on the whole, in terms of design and build, I really don't have any major complaints. Now coming to the hardware section, this is how the SIM card tray looks. It is very well built. It supports dual SIM with dual 4G with dual VO LTE, and it even supports native video calling. I've used this phone with Airtel and Jio, and VoLTE worked on both SIMs and I didn't have any major issues with call quality or signal reception. Now this phone also has dedicated SD card slot along with adaptive storage feature. Yes, nowadays most of the phones are offering a dedicated SD card slot, like Asus M1, even the Redmi 6 Pro, but unlike all those phones, you can actually use the SD card as internal storage on this phone. So that's definitely one huge advantage for this phone. Now it also comes with all the basic sensors including compass, gyroscope and an LED notification light. Auto brightness sensor is working without any issues, but the gyroscope needs a little bit of recalibration. Now that's not a major problem. Now going on next, there is no FM radio either. So if you're someone who listens to a lot of radio, then that's one thing you're gonna miss on this phone. Now coming to the fingerprint scanner, it is on the back and it is pretty easily accessible even without the case. Nowadays most of the fingerprint scanner are flush to the back and it is quite hard to make them out, especially without a case. And compared to such phones, especially phones like Nokia 6.1 Plus or the 5.1 Plus, fingerprint scanner on this phone is much more easily accessible. Well, it's definitely not something to brag about, but I think companies should really take some smaller things like these into consideration. Anyway, coming to its performance, fingerprint scanner itself is pretty fast. It can instantly read your fingerprint, but the phone takes like half a second to unlock the phone. Now that is still pretty fast and probably the second or third best fingerprint scanner I've seen, including flagships. So it's not super fast, but it is pretty fast. Now with this fingerprint scanner, when you use the wrong fingerprint, you get a haptic feedback, but when you use the right fingerprint, there's no haptic feedback, it just unlocks. I just wish that could be added with a future update. Now coming to Face Unlock, there is no Face Unlock feature on this phone, but we can use Google's Smart Face feature to unlock your phone with facial data. It works well in well-lit conditions, but in low lighting conditions, most of the time, it doesn't work. So guys, in the hardware department, there are no major issues, just gyroscope needs to be recalibrated and you will be missing FM radio. So those are the only two minor issues. Now coming to the display, this phone sports a pretty huge 5.99-inch IPS display with Full HD Plus resolution, which Infinix likes to call a full view display because of the new 18:9 aspect ratio. But as you can see, the bezels are pretty huge all around. Now with that said, it has 85% screen to body ratio and 500 nits of brightness. So the display is pretty bright and even the sunlight legibility is pretty good. Now all the regular stuff like the viewing angles and picture quality also is pretty good. Colors look a bit saturated and that would be great for media consumption as well. Now the only thing that can be improved in terms of display would be the bezels. They are quite big, just like the current Redmi phones. By the way, as this phone is running pure stock Android, there are no gestures or any handy customization features that involves the display. So it's pretty much empty in terms of features. All you have is just the split screen mode. On the whole, display on this phone is pretty good for the price. Now coming to the cameras, on the rear this phone has a single 12 megapixel camera with f2.0 aperture with 1.25 micron pixel size and dual LED flash. On the front it has a 16 megapixel front facing camera with f2.0 aperture with 5p lens and a dedicated soft light. Now the cameras on this phone are good, especially the front facing camera is better than the rear camera. Even in low lighting conditions, it is actually performing better than other phones in the same price segment. Like all other phones these days, even this phone has portrait mode for both the front and rear cameras. Well, they do look good from afar, but edge detection isn't perfect on both the front and rear cameras. But for regular pictures and regular selfies, they come out pretty good. By the way, front camera on this phone is better than Nokia 5.1 Plus, Asus M1 3GB variant, Redmi Y2, Realme 6 Pro, and even the Realme 2. So when it comes to selfies, this phone definitely shines. These are some sample pictures. Now coming to video recording, it does a pretty okay job. There is no stabilization, so the footage is pretty shaky and kind of not usable. With that said, if you like to take a lot of videos and you want stabilization for video recording, you should consider phones from Moto, Nokia or the latest Redmi phones. Now coming to the performance, this phone sports a MediaTek Helio P23 processor. It's an octa-core processor clocked at a maximum frequency of 2 GHz with Mali G71 MP2 GPU. Now this processor is also built using the 16nm architecture, so it is also pretty power efficient. Now these are the AnTuTu benchmark scores. For some reason Geekbench was not working on this phone, so I just included AnTuTu scores. Now benchmark scores aside, when it comes to actual usage, for regular usage and light gaming, processor on this phone is pretty good, but while playing graphic intensive games like PUBG or Asphalt 9, this phone will definitely lag a lot. Now with PUBG you can change the graphic settings to improve the overall experience, but even at its lowest settings, there is still a bit of lag. So if you're a normal user who doesn't play heavy games, then this phone or this processor on this phone is pretty good enough. But if you really want to play high-end games like PUBG, it is better to consider phones like Asus M1 or the Realme 1, Nokia 5.1 Plus, which come with a Snapdragon 636 processor or a Helio P60 processor. Now coming to the heating issues, while playing games or in my heat test where I take pictures continuously for 3 minutes, maximum temperature I have seen was just 43 degrees. Phone felt slightly warm, but that's it. There are no major heating issues. Now with that said, if you really push your phone to its limits, there is some bit of throttling, like the UI lags a little, until the phone cools down. So on the whole, in terms of performance, for a normal user, for regular usage, like maybe calls, WhatsApp and mails, this phone is pretty good. For heavy gaming or heavy multitasking, it's a big no. Now coming to the software section, this phone is running pure stock Android based on Android 8.1.0, that's Oreo, and it is part of Google's Android One program. So this phone will get 2 years of regular software updates and 3 years of regular security patches, and this will be one of the first few phones to get Android P and Android Q updates probably by the end of 2018 or 2019. Right now this phone still has August security patch, and for some reason there's no September or October security patch till now. So updates are kinda slow even though this phone is an Android One phone. Now coming to the features, we just have 2 gestures, one is flip to mute and another one is a 3-finger screenshot. You have the regular features like split screen mode, night light and picture-in-picture mode, but besides that, everything is pretty empty and pretty plain. Now with that said, entire software experience, at least so far, has been pretty stable and I didn't run into any software issues or bugs so far. Now coming to memory management, right now it's kinda okay, but Infinix definitely need to improve the memory management for a better overall experience. So guys, on the whole, in the software department, I just wish memory management could be better. Besides that little issue, everything is pretty good. Now coming to the audio department, audio experience on the headset is pretty much average. There isn't anything impressive or bad to talk about. Now coming to the speaker, it is pretty loud and more than sufficient for media consumption, ringtones and alarms. I have watched a lot of videos on this phone and I never felt that the speaker was lacking in any means. Now coming to the battery department, this phone has a pretty massive 4500 mAh battery, and under 10,000 rupees, this phone has the biggest battery among all the recently launched phones. Now that's not all. Just like the Infinix Note 4, even this phone supports fast charging and comes with an 18 watts fast charger inside the box. Infinix calls it the X charger, but it works like any other Qualcomm quick charger. Now coming to the charge speeds, this phone gets about 60% of charge in 1 hour and takes almost 2 hours to charge completely from 0 to 100%. Considering the huge battery size, charging speeds are okay. Now just like other phones that support quick charge, even this phone gets pretty hot while charging. At a room temperature of 29 degrees, phone reached a maximum of 43 degrees. So the phone gets hot while charging, but it's still manageable. Now coming to the battery life, once again it is just awesome. If you're a normal user who just uses your phone very casually, like for calls, messages, WhatsApp, and a little bit of social media apps, this phone can even last you 3 days. For me, on normal usage, which involved watching a lot of videos and using social media applications and attending a few calls and playing games for some time, it definitely lasted me more than 1.5 days. So no matter how you use this phone, no matter how you push it, this phone will definitely last you more than a day, that's for sure. So guys, on the whole, this is the best phone for people who are looking for pure stock Android experience with faster updates, bigger battery, fast charging, and a better front-facing camera. So if you are willing to compromise a bit in terms of cameras and overall performance, especially if you don't play games like PUBG, then this is definitely the best phone in the price segment. So guys, what do you think about this phone? Do let me know by commenting below this video, and if you're planning to buy this phone, use the link in the description. It always helps the channel, and if you want me to make any specific video, tweet out to us with hashtag AskGreedyTech on Twitter and we will try to make it as soon as possible. I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech signing off. Have a nice day.